Yan.
Hey,
Ayan.
Hello.
hello,
Hello,
George,
hello.
everyone.
umpisahan mo na muna, George.
Hi,
Umpisahan mo na
everyone.
muna, George.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Wednesday afternoon here in Manila, in the US, Wednesday morning. Tama ba, Jean?
It's
Tuesday siya, Tuesday.
Tuesday evening, 11:33 p.m. actually.
Okay, very good. So, it's 11:33 p.m. So, welcome, everyone, to watching our Facebook Live. As promised with you, I am here with Ekon Malig, the customer service guy. Hi, Ekon. Kumusta?
Mabuti,
Hello,
kamusta?
everyone.
May team tayo ngayon, naka-block tayo lahat.
Oo nga.
Ayun.
Ako lagi ako naka-block din. And then, of course, our special guest for today, siya yung ating interviewin, direct from the US. He is a manager for one of the top three retail establishment, drug stores, and retail stores in the US. Hindi lang namin babanggitin yung pangalan kasi syempre, confidentiality. But we'd like to welcome our guest on the show, Mr. Jean Onchanco.
Hi, kamusta? Welcome. Hello, kamusta? Thank you for the invitation also.
But we'd like to welcome our guest
Yan.
Sir Jean.
Let me just, gaano yata yung dumodoble yata. Sige.
Oo. Tinahan ko lang yung mga
Okay.
camera natin.
Okay, okay.
Ayan.
Ayan.
Okay. All right. So, siguro let's probably give everyone muna a big welcome. I hope everyone is safe right now, especially here in the Philippines, especially there in the US. Our love goes to you. Sana naman ay especially mga Pilipino, no, sana naman nag-iingat kayo lahat. We're not really in good times right now. Pero sabi nga nila, let's make the most out of it. And I hope everyone is doing okay. Okay? Ang ating topic ngayon is really more of, una-una siguro, ilinya muna natin yung discussion for today. Why are we even talking about this, Ekon? Why is it important for us? Before we go to Jean, no? Siguro let's try to understand why are we even talking about this issue. It's not exactly an issue, but really more of why are we even into this topic, no? Of trying to see how retail establishments,
Right.
and even in the US at that, no? How are they even managing the crisis? Bakit ba interesado tayo sa ganitong diskusyon?
Right, good question yan, George and Jean. Kasi unang-una, as you know, ang dami kong clients na mga retail stores. And ito yung, as far as the Philippines is concerned, ito yung mga na-heavy hit dito sa nangyari sa atin sa enhanced community quarantine. Now, the thing is, our numbers are nothing compared to what is happening currently where Jean is in the US. Technically nga, di ba, yung na-mention natin kanina, George, yung New York is almost ground zero, di ba? They have overtaken Italy as far as the number of people who were affected by the virus. Buti na lang, kila Jean, ang alam ko, nasa area nila, parang kali is nasa 10,000 pa lang ata. Sana wag nang tumaas masyado. Tama ba, Jean? Yun ba yung huling number?
Yeah, just to give you a perspective of what's happening here in the US, as a country, as nationwide, our total cases is about 612,000 na. And our death, it's about 26,000 na ang death. Here in California, good thing lang naman yung governor namin started early on the stay-at-home order niya. So our case right now here in California is about 25,000 and our death is about 756. Mind you, there's about 32 million of us here in California, so that's quite low for our case. Here in LA County, medyo mataas, it's about 10,000 with 360 deaths. That's as of today in LA County. One thing I can say about the leadership about California and about our mayor is he's very a daily briefing naman. He's very open to us, so it's helping really. This is not the first pandemic naman that we've experienced. The last 63 years, we had it in 1958, and as from that history alone, yung mga earlier na nag-mitigate was able to survive the pandemic faster than the ones who delayed. So if you notice here in America, yung mga state na medyo delay stay-at-home order, so they got really hit bad. Like you mentioned, New York was really hit bad.
Other than New York
And
pa, ano ba
I'm
yung
sure
tinamaan pa ng matindi? Other than New York.
From what I'm reading lang, mga hotspots, New Orleans is becoming one of the hotspots. Michigan, I think, also.
Illinois,
Wala
tsaka Jersey, no?
Pero yung mga, like I said, yung mga areas na medyo delayed nag-react yung governors nila. So medyo tinamaan. If you remember, nung early March, nagkaroon pa ng Mardi Gras sa New Orleans eh. So after 2 weeks, I mean, maraming naapektuhan. Same as in Florida, there were some, beach parties and spring break. After that, it was affected. One thing I can say, here about 30 years na, no, it's partly, I think it's a culture eh. Ang Amerikano kasi may pagka-free loving, spirited. So I think we're having a hard time accepting that.
Alam mo, very, very, thank you, Jean, for sharing that. No? Siguro, just to, Jean, could you probably share to us muna, no? Ano ba yung work na ginagawa mo? And thank you for the insights, no? Because at least we have an overview of what's happening there, no? Directly from you. Siguro, could you probably explain to us exactly what work do you do? And my next follow-up question to that is, when this happened, ano yung una mong reaction? No? What did you do as a person and also as a manager, managing that specific business that you have there in the US?
Like I mentioned to Echo, no, this is I've been in retail management for almost 28 years now. There's 3 types of retail here in America. We call it travel retail. They have the specialty retail, and then right now I'm in what we call big box retail, which is basically geared into pharmacy and convenience type store. When this started in Wuhan, China, I've been following it now. I've been telling my coworkers, even my bosses, that this can take in America, no? So that was early January pa. Kasi I've noticed a lot of our Asian customers were in California naman, especially LA, has a lot of Asian population. So they were always looking for masks. And my time nga, we bought, I had boxes and boxes of the N95s. And then in one day, I was able to sell that in like late January pa lang yun, ha? It hasn't really been discussed here in America about COVID-19. So from there on, I knew we were gonna be hit na in the next few weeks. Pero like I said, the mitigation, the cultural, medyo iba dito eh. So delayed talaga nag-react compared to the Philippines. Just the mere fact na wearing mask, 1 week ago lang kami nagsimula, ha? Kasi for
Nag-wear ng mask? Nag-wear ng mask 1 week lang?
And then that's only in California or here in LA. In some states, they don't even wear masks pa. So,
kasi di ba parang nakita ko na may advice dati na as much as possible, wearing masks in public places are not encouraged because it might create a panic daw. Yun daw yung sabi.
Correct. For quite some time, our CDC was telling us na don't wear masks, save the mask for the healthcare workers, which is true naman. Pero medyo skewed yung data at that time eh. So, and I think we're catching up naman. And now mas medyo aggressive na, no, wear mask. Our Governor Newsom is very aggressive naman. So early March pa lang may mga mitigation na kami, the social distancing, wearing mask and everything. So going back to my background. Yeah, going to my background. So working in a pharmacy type grocery store. This is like 3 weeks ago. It's like I was telling Econ, because we've been messaging naman, no? It's a I would call it career moment talaga, life experience eh. Kasi nagdagsaan talaga yung mga tao eh. It's like, it's like pandemonium eh. It's never really expected na in one day I'll have like 200 customers in one building. Alam mo? I mean, like I said, I'm sure you followed or what we call the TP, the toilet paper pandemonium we had here na use kami.
Na,
So just imagine
napakadaming meme
now
lumabas, di ba? Napakadaming meme na hindi daw natin magiging
until
problema
now,
yan as Filipinos.
until now,
Kasi tabo lang daw tayo, ayos na.
I know, right? We have tapo. So until now, we have that problem. So in fact, our delivery just got in today. We still have this in place na only one toilet paper, one case of toilet paper per customer. So yeah, so like I said, those buying lasted for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then of course we started implementing mga social distancing. Of course, the CDC started giving us guidelines, pero there was a time talaga na we were caught off guard ba kung tawag pa natin sa States na. So because we were not really ready for it. So but now, like if you look at groceries, there's lines na rin to like sa Philippines na limited, only 10 people can go inside for I guess, and that's what's allowed right now. Like sa Philippines, ECQ, almost 80% of the retail sector is closed down.
Correct.
So only
Correct.
essential businesses are open. So basically I was telling Econ also, it's basically the groceries, the drugstore, and banks, of course, and some repair shops. But other than that, it's really the retail side of it, the apparel and shoe industry
Wala talaga.
is really hurting.
So,
Yeah.
so thank you, Jean. No, very very good information. Siguro, I have a couple of questions. No, first question is, and it's good that you were able to proactively spot. No, when the whole thing was just beginning in Wuhan, at least you were able to tell your bosses, your colleagues. No, which is, I think we have a lot to learn with that particular type of behavior. No, dito rin sana sa Pilipinas. Being proactive is very, very important, especially with this type of crisis. My interesting point that I saw, no, kasi sabi mo nga, most of you weren't really prepared for the influx of people who are buying. Paano mo manage yung supply chain? How were you able to, as a retail establishment, how were you able to manage the inventory? No, paano nyo na stabilize? Nagkaroon ba ng problema? Meron ba kayong mga ginawang techniques that was able to address that? Kasi remember, we have two types of spectrums that we're looking at. No, the first one being your supply and then your demand. Paano mo, Jean, na reconcile yung dalawa na yon while all of this was happening? I'd really be interested to know.
To be honest, actually, George, it took us a while. In fact, right now, after 3 weeks, this is the only time na I'm seeing, what we call the high demand COVID-19 merchandises. So which are the alcohol, hand sanitizers, toilet paper. So it's just coming in, but it's really trickling slowly, no? But one thing what we can do as a manager in my building, I guess, is in any retail store, in any big box store kasi limited yan before the pandemic. Each shelf or each item was what we call a min max. The minimum we can order, the maximum we.
Yes.
Okay, so like for example, a hand sanitizer which is 5 ounce, right? So the min max of that item, kasi yung shelf, if you look at that shelf, is only like what? The width of that is only about 8-10 inches lang, no? So the min max for that, I think the minimum we can order is 6. The max is 12. Yeah, but the demand, the last 3 weeks ago, the demand was almost 50 or 100. So how can you, you really correct that, no? So the laptops from our corporate office to the middle management. So they had to cut off the min max. So all stores, they basically cut off one min max that we can order. But what's been happening also, every store is got hit by the panic buying, right? So
correct.
So ang warehouse had to adjust as well. So they had to. So it took them a while to carry the right amount of inventory. Pero like I said, this week we're getting better na. So there's still a few items that were do not have enough inventory. Pero hopefully mask. The number one problem is mask talaga. The N95, the surgical mask, is find that in any place here in America talaga. Because the priority is the hospitals. There's a few areas naman na naging high demand for COVID, so which is basically the disinfectant chemical, panglinis, yung mga panglinis that became a top seller.
Yung mga
Mga hand sanitizer, white bleach, anything that will kill the bacteria or they fill virus. Of course, for some reason, the toilet paper, I still don't get that though. So liquor actually picked up too. So kasi maraming stay at home eh. So even liquor department picked up also. But like I said, there's three categories talaga.
Yeah, that's the difference here because if you don't have alcohol in stock, when I say alcohol, alcoholic beverages in your house prior to the ECQ, then during the ECQ, you won't be able to buy anymore because now there is it's like election time. There's alcohol, ban on alcoholic drinks, so you cannot buy in any groceries. You would see that they're all covered, they're closed, that you cannot buy. So only if you have alcoholic stuff in your house, that's the only time you can drink. But I can imagine how it would pick up in the US because again, you're at home, nothing to do. So probably again, alcoholic consumption of alcoholic drinks would really go up. I have a question as far as your sales is concerned, Gene. For example, what is the percentage, the difference? It can be either plus or a minus now, but prior to the quarantine or the situation now, the crisis that's happening, the pandemic, what were your numbers and what is your numbers currently? Is it up or down?
If you're asking in a basically my area, which is the drugstore and convenience store industry, medyo hindi kasi masyado kami tinamaan eh. Nag-struggle na kasi even before the COVID-19 kasi Econ, 2019 the whole retail store of America is really having some issues na if you remember some big companies are shutting down last year. So mostly apparel, the stores in the malls are really shutting down na. So of course when COVID-19 happened, yung mga stores na medyo mahirap yung mababa yung balance sheets nila, medyo nahirapan. But to answer back to your question, if our sales my sales last year was around single digits plus over plan, of course that doubled. May tayo pa they tripled. Although medyo nagpa-plateau na ngayon kasi nga because of the stay at home and medyo mga tao ngayon is medyo takot din. So kasi if you've been reading a lot of the news on pharmacy and drugstore and groceries are becoming a vector of the virus rin daw eh. So everybody's really feeling where so grabe ang sanitation namin sa ngayon talaga linis. We hired a third party vendor just to clean up the stores and then kami mismo we're trained to clean and every few minutes we have to any area that customers touches we just have to clean it as part of our daily routine na.
So far naman sir wala naman nagkakasakit dun sa mga employees ninyo.
Wala naman, lucky enough wala naman nakakasakit sa within my area ha. But going back to you, Econ, from what I'm reading, kasi lately naging curious din talaga ako anong effect nito sa retail industry, Unfortunately, meron talagang mawawalang mga business. The retail that we are used to before COVID, before the pandemic, will never be the same post-pandemic. Forecast lang this year, it's about 15,000 companies will shut down in the retail side. That's the forecast. So but there will be wins also. Yung mga companies or retail stores that carries a high demand COVID merchandises, like ours, essential stores, groceries, yun mga plastic. So
Yeah.
So yun ang I think one thing I can say about the changes eventually.
Oh,
Right.
Jim, curious lang ako, no? Yung sabi mo nga, the sales actually increased, no? So, hindi naman kayo nagkaroon ng problema when it comes to pricing, no? You never jacked up any prices kasi medyo mataas yung demand, di ba? Or nagkaroon ba?
Not only that, it's illegal here in America. We have what we call a waste and measure. We have what we call a state-regulated waste and measure that if you get audited, not only you get fined for millions, you can actually the company itself can get in trouble. So we're really strict on that. Usually yung mga nagpa-price gouging lang, it's the mom and pop places na hindi makontrol, mahirap i-control yun maliliit na shops, pero in a corporate companies. Yeah.
That's the funny part, George and Jean, because as we all know, we have the same rules and regulations here as far as the pricing is concerned. Pero it was very obvious, at least in our market, so to speak, in our country, it was very obvious that during the times that some of the supplies can't get to the store, and even if the government would say that there is no stoppage, as soon as they hit a roadblock or a checkpoint, they'll be given a pass right away so that they can continue to deliver the goods. But if you notice, and I'm sure you, George, can also attest to this, but some of the prices in markets and groceries went up at a certain time. Diba? At a certain time. There was one time I was in a grocery and then I was with a DTI personnel was wearing an ID and he was going around and I said, do you have a DTI personnel assigned to every market or every grocery at least for Luzon? Sabi niya, no, we don't. Sabi ko, I think it would help if you can deploy at least one person in your groceries, in the groceries, or at least once a day someone would visit because the prices, even though the government would say that it was controlled, in actuality, there would be times that you would see the prices really go up.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that Kila G, in the US, this doesn't happen. Only it happens to, again, like what you said, the mom and pop that you sometimes cannot control anymore. The smaller ones.
Yeah. So,
tama yung
compared to tell me, even on mainstream groceries are like that too in the Philippines.
Yeah, somehow we were seeing a little bit of price spiking around 2 weeks ago. Up until now, meron pa rin. In fact, when you take a look at it, medyo mataas talaga yung pricing. Although a lot of people don't really pay attention to it because, again, the attention at hand is survival, no? So
it's a matter of survival. Yes.
But if you look at it, there was some significant increases, which actually brings me to my other question, Jean. Sabi mo nga, no, when you were and it's good you have regulatory bodies there in the US that are helping you, no, in making sure that all these goods are still being received correctly, no, and dispensed correctly. Was there meron ba kayong hindi naman threat, no? What about the e-commerce side of things? Nagkaroon ba kayo ng ganong conversations with your bosses? You know, did it actually spring up? Because somehow it may, when it comes to retail, sabi mo nga kanina, that the preferences of people will definitely change after this pandemic or even during the pandemic. When before we would think about, going to vacation, buying gadgets, ngayon iba na, essentials na tayo, no? We're talking about, hey, let this be the priorities right now, safety and essentials. But my question there, how did the e-commerce platforms come into play against the retail biggies such as yourself? And was there any conversations that you had with your bosses or perhaps with the management on how you could possibly take advantage of this platform as well? Meron bang mga ganun?
Yeah, basically that's a good question, ano. Pero like I said, even before the COVID-19, we were actually threatened na by I'm sure I can mention naman siguro the Amazon platform, ano, because they've been buying left and right. They're into groceries, they're into pretty much everything. They're into pharmacy, I'm told also. So when that started, a lot of retail companies, a lot of like ours and other mainstream retail companies also, they kumbaga they improve, or they really upgraded the e-commerce division. In fact, we have partnership na, with different companies as well. So it's one thing that we really have to be proactive about it, lalo na ngayon because of because of the pandemic. So e-commerce, like for example, for us, we have deliveries na for our prescription. So instead of patients coming to our stores, to our buildings, we can actually deliver the prescription to them. And then we have our own online division as well, wherein they have their own supply chain din, so which is good. Although napansin ko lang during pandemic, because may wait time, that's the trade-off naman ng e-commerce, because lately they're having problems in their warehouses, people are getting sick, employees are getting sick, so there's a backlog of delivery. So I'm told that delivery average daw nila ngayon is about 2 to 3 weeks.
Whoa.
So medyo matagal yun for someone who's in a survival mode, right? So marami pa rin, especially for us essential type businesses, marami pa rin talaga mga in-person customers na pupunta. Pero of course, practicing social distance na. But you're right. Post-pandemic talaga, e-commerce has to step up. Or what we call now the no-touch type of technology. So instead of, because after this talaga, post-pandemic, a lot of our consumers' behaviors will become a permanent, like right now, it's temporary, wearing masks, social distancing. Pero I've read in a Forbes article, eventually, if you're a retailer or in a business sector, you have to adjust kasi the consumer behavior will change talaga, and whatever was the temporary now will become a permanent one. So that means everybody will become germ conscious. So like you all know, COVID-19 will not go away naman. Even this mitigation that we're doing, the social distancing and everything, without the vaccine, there will be a second wave, a third wave, and so maybe the first wave will go away. Right now, they're saying peak ng America, we peak last week daw. So eventually, there will be, the cases will decrease. Pero because consumers talaga are different, their behavior will be different. So keypads na lang they're afraid to touch the keypads. They have to use either wala silang gloves, they use their shirt, alam mo yun, or they let us do it. So that's one
cotton buds.
Yeah, cotton buds. So it's all about safety talaga. It's all about their health and safety, ang number one priority right now for consumers as a manager.
Pero I'm surprised to see still that no matter how technologically advanced the country, US, for example, medyo you have been in slight delay as far as reacting, because like the ECQ for us, the lockdown, so to speak, or quarantine period, we are already extended for another 15 days. So it's going to end hopefully on the 30th of April. But as far as, again, like for example, in Cali alone, there's already 10,000 people. Medyo parang hindi kayo kagad nag-react. That's one of the thing I noticed. Tama ba?
Tama. Pero like I promised myself and promised to myself, to my friends, I will try to make sure this is not going to be political.
Of course.
Of course, pero partly the problem was, like, our batch, I think I'm gonna mention, he wants me to make sure that I mention it. We have one of our batches saying, as Americans, we have this feeling of invincibility. Tama naman siya, di ba? We have this feeling kasi for centuries, for ilang years, for 100 years, I don't know for how long, we've always been number one, right? We've always been on top of everything. So for us Americans, it's hard to accept na we have to follow what other countries are doing. If you remember correctly, when the first case in Washington, when the first case in Washington happened, the World Health Organization offered the US na, we have our own test kits, and we like you to use it for your kasi nag-hotspot ng Washington at that time. Of course, our own CDC is now we have our own test kit. This is just my opinion, okay? But this is what I'm reading. Don't quote me for it. But of course, they said that we have our own test kits. We don't need the donations from WHO. So technically, from made in Germany kasi yun eh. So we wanted to make sure we use our own. And nagka-problema, the first set of test kits were faulty pa pala. So at that point, nagkaroon pa ng delay to 2 weeks. So just one of the examples of why there's a delay, But with regard to data and facts, mid-January pa lang, we knew about it na eh. Because of course, we have offices naman in China, right? But because we were so
confident?
Yeah, no, I think it's more of we are, lalo na the administration right now, it's very economic driven. So it's very, the stock market, and it's election year also. So we want to make sure, because of course, when we start doing this mitigation, it will affect the economy. And he was right naman, it really, ang economy namin ngayon, talaga drop down. Pero what do you prefer? Is the safety of your citizens, or diba, or the economy na eventually you continue being open, lahat mamamatay. If there was a study nga if we didn't do our mitigation early enough, instead of just 600,000 cases in what was that number I gave you, and about 26 deaths, pwedeng by this time mga 200,000 deaths na yan. If we didn't do,
actually very similar, Gin, yung nangyayari sa US and the Philippines. Although yun nga siguro the difference that we're seeing is and it both touches on behavior. However, it's in different polarities. What I mean by this is siguro nga kasi in the US there was this feeling of invincibility, we wouldn't want to follow, you guys or perhaps the US wouldn't want to follow what South Korea did or an Asian country did, Kasi naturally Americans hindi naman talagang compliant yan because you know very well that you set the pace. Pero iba tong nangyayari, this sabi ko nga, this virus demands you to become compliant. This virus demands you to follow the rules that it brings you to, di ba? So parang rules of engagement Meron siyang di ba? Meron siyang hinihingi sa iyo. So kailangan sundin natin. Now, the funny thing is, in the Philippines, halos ganyan din yung problema, behavior din. Pero alam mo ang difference na nakikita ko, and ewan ko kung mag-agree ka, Ekon, dito kasi hindi invincibility Kung hindi, walang pera. Kahirapan yung nagiging problema. And people go out, they practice social distancing because they need to, number one, procure essentials, find money to be able to procure these essentials, and number three, escape from wherever they are. So parang yun yung nakikita nating scenario right now. That's quite different here in the Philippines. Ewan ko, agree ka ba ron, Ekon? Meron ka bang masasabi dyan?
Agree naman ako doon. Up to a certain extent, for the most part, agree ako doon. Pero kasi, may kaakibat yung pagiging yung pera Yung like for example, may isang nangyari, di ba? And I'm sure Jean is also aware about this. Yung nagkaroon ng isang matinding number of deaths because of one event, yung sabong sa Davao. And this is from where we are actually originally from, si kami ni Jean. Nagkaroon ng, from last na naalam ko, there have been 12 deaths because of that one activity. So nagkaroon ng isang sabong, lahat ng umattend, automatic, may mga hindi nagsabi na PUI sila, 12 ang namatay doon sa isang event na yun. So, at that point, hindi yun kahirapan, kundi ano na yun eh. Medyo tigas ng ulo siguro, di ba?
Or escapist, di ba? Na parang, tara, magsaya tayo. Magsaya.
Nalulungkot na daw. Pero di ba, mas nakakalungkot na nawala ka kaysa nagtiis muna tayo ng konti. Di ba na magtiis tayo ng konti at eventually pag umokay na lahat, pwede natin gawin lahat yung dati natin ginagawa. But now, with extra caution. Di ba yun lang ang gusto natin, and I'm sure kahit sa states yun ang sinasabi yun. What they're actually saying is that let's try to be a little bit more patient with what is happening. Let us be compliant, just like what George said. Ako nga, I would like to use the word submit. Let us submit to this virus by complying to what it is asking from us, and that is to stay at home. When everyone's at home, there's no reason for the virus to go around anymore, di ba? It's so sad to hear na nangyari yun na I'm sure may kakilala tayong doon. Of course, hindi naman natin malalaman.
It's a personal thing.
Yeah, so nakakalungkot because instead of waiting a little bit longer, now it's sadder to think that people have passed on and we will never see them again. Again, our patience is really, sabi nga nila patience is a virtue, but I think this time we have no other reason not to comply. Again, I'm using the words of George. Comply, submit to this virus. It is here. We cannot do anything about it now, but again, we can only control the things that we can control, and that is us going out physically. As much as possible, the things that have the good things that have happened that I see is we were pushed now, rather than sooner or later, it became sooner, the digital transformation of a lot of businesses. Diba? Suddenly, even small takeout shops or restaurants would now be online business already. They're now into e-commerce.
Bilis.
A lot of people were denying this, and a lot of people are saying, tsaka na, next time I'll do that when the time comes. And suddenly, here comes coronavirus or COVID-19. It's telling us to comply now. Tama ba?
Tama. Alam mo, i-share ko lang kay Jean. Jean, alam mo, yung pinaka-advantage naman dito sa Pilipinas. Imaginein mo ha, siguro about last month, halos lahat yung mga restaurants, no, businesses, food service, take-out, meal preps, hindi pa nga masyado yan eh. Biglang ngayon, as in you can see it when you look at your Facebook post, maya lumalabas sa feed mo, may mga nagdi-deliver ng mga food, ng mga meal preps, mga meals and all that. Ang naging advantage ng Pilipinas is because nagkaroon kami ng tinatawag na app, na tinatawag na Grab, Angkas, Lalamove, yung mga logistics, mga demotor na nagdi-deliver. Yun yung naging advantage ng Pilipinas. It made it easier for some of these businesses to actually make a pivot. No? So yun yung nakikita ko naman, naging bright spot ng Pilipinas, no? Kasi I mean with other countries I'm sure may ganyan din, pero hindi kasing grabe dito talaga, as in pamaya-maya makikita mo sa mga kapitbahay mo may nagde-deliver ng groceries, may nagde-deliver ng mga pagkain, may nagde-deliver ng gulay, no? So you just book sa app, no? Either to Grab, Angkas, Lalamove, Food Panda, ang dami, no? So yun yung naging and maybe naman sana US can also learn from that, no? In such a way that you guys can take a look at that model as well, because certainly it's working here in the Philippines. And tama si Econ, overnight ang daming e-commerce, ang daming nag-online, nag-digital transformation, sobrang bilis, no? As in it only took 1 week yung mga ibang kumpanya na imagine mo fast food outlets such as McDonald's or Jollibee, they're selling their inventory right now through online. Yung mga hindi pa luto, marami na nagbebenta na yung mga McDonald's, no? Nagulat ako yesterday, I saw it. They're selling their chicken nuggets, ilang kilo, 'di ba? Parang 'di ba ang galing 'di ba? Bilis.
Gina,
Namimiss ko na nga. Namimiss ko na nga ngayon yun eh. Wala pa may McDonald's dito ngayon eh.
Pati mga Chowking, di ba mga Chowking na frozen siomai, they're selling it already. You can cook it at home. So parang kumakain ka sa bahay, catered by a restaurant that you would never think of buying their frozen items. Now, they're selling their inventory. You can cook it at home, and it's as if you're there. Pero the good thing is that you're in the comforts of your own home. Tsaka alam mo, in the US, and I'm sure Gene will also agree with this, yung order system, take out, it has been very, very popular. Matagal na. Sa Philippines, doon naman sa aspect na yun, tayo yung humahabol dahan-dahan. But one thing that I'm very surprised now is that now, you literally see farm-to-table products. Like for example, veggies. Yung veggies now, you can actually order from the actual farmer, and you would know that it came from the farmer. Why? Because you would see that when you get your lettuce, kita mo may mga lupa pa. And I heard talking to one farmer, he said, hina-harvest lang namin yan when someone orders. Kasi pag hindi pa umu-order, no one's buying it. It's just on the ground. Yeah. When someone orders, then I'll pick it out from the ground. Mabilis ang linis, mahala na kayo. So it's really farm to table ang nangyayari ngayon. And I think those are the good things that is the effect of what is currently happening.
And I think I agree with both of you, no? I think partly as a Filipino myself, we grew up in a third world country, considering so I think we're more resilient to changes. Kasi I mean that I don't know, Econ, we have the same high school, right? I mean, kung saan tayo kumakain, right? Kung sa Bangkyoran, like we eat everywhere. So for us to adjust at this time, medyo hindi tayo nahirapan. Pero I think in the American culture, medyo hirap sila mag-accept na they're so limited now what they can do. So I think it's one thing I've noticed sa mga Americans, yung pag-wear na lang ng mask, or why they have to be in line for 6 feet apart, mga ganun. So very sociable kasi ang culture ng America. So I think partly that's becoming a problem. In the Philippines, meron tayong bayanihan mentality. We help each other. So I think that's a big factor talaga.
Dito din naman very sociable din ang Pinoy. Makikita mo yung mga palengke, grabe ang tao, no? Tsaka yung mga makukuha sa mga bayan-bayan, makikita mo talaga, no? So I hope yun lang, we become more compliant. Siguro, Gene, one question that I'd like to ask you in reference to your line of work. Ano yung nakikita mo? What do you foresee that's going to happen with retail? I mean, we already know e-commerce is going to be there. Pero yung mga smaller changes, yung customers especially, ano yung mga magiging changes na napo-foresee mo in the next couple of months siguro from now?
Yeah, in the next couple of months, for sure. Like I said, a lot of the consumer behaviors will be, number one, they'll be more germ conscious nga. So what yung nakasanay lang yung social distancing and wearing a mask and everything, that will become permanent now. Until we have this vaccine siguro, kasi everybody is scared of, kumbaga, going out is it's pretty much a life and death situation for some people, right? Especially yung mga immunocompromised, di ba? Or yung mga senior citizen na lang. So as a retailer, as one of us, I think health and safety talaga is the number one factor for us to make sure that we represent a clean and very, very clean na store, very sanitized na store. So I think that's one thing customers want to see. Yeah, tsaka the demand has changed. The demand has changed, so it'll be the essential items talaga to make sure we have those
Meron
items.
tayo nga palang comment. Meron although hindi na i-post dito sa ating current conversation, si Doc Benedict Valdez, hi Doc, classmate namin din ni Gene. Meron
Hi,
siya
Doc.
comment. Ang comment niya is, he actually showed a diagram. Sabi niya, this is the diagram I made and the retailers are affected and major importers took over and major distributors just locked and closed to minor distributors. In effect, the distribution system were affected means hindi alam ng tao saan bibili ng gamit because then the money is there. So I'm trying to save the actual post para mas ma-upload ko dito na makita nyo yung mismong in-upload ni Doc Benedict Valdez, yung actual drawing.
Yeah.
Yung actual drawing, meron siyang binigay na drawing kaya maganda eh.
Siguro we can share it later, no? Para makita din natin. Maganda yan.
So yun.
Meron pa,
George,
meron pa bang comments, Econ, na nakikita mo?
Medyo madami-dami kaya inaayos ko pa.
Okay. Sige, I have a question for Jean. Jean, what about yung wholesale segment ninyo? Tumaas ba yung demand? Yung mga buy the bulk. Kasi alam ko dyan sa US talaga puro bulk yung binibili. Dito sa Pilipinas tingi-tingi eh. Pero tumaas ba?
Yes,
Meron bang mas lumakas na demand in reference to that?
Like Costco type store, right? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Bulk.
Oh.
Aside from toilet, I guess, right?
Talaga.
By bulk, I think mostly I've noticed a demand on water cases. Maraming usually instead of just buying 2 cases of water, people has a tendency to stock water cases. So average 6 cases per house. Mga ganun.
Wow.
If like yung mga essential items, if we don't limit it to one, I'm sure they're gonna buy in bulk also, like the cough and cold, mga Tylenols pa rin, hand sanitizer. Those are the types of merchandise that if they can buy it in bulk, in multiple quantities, they would. Pero sa experience ko kasi wala kami masyadong bulk items, and one thing I've noticed lang is the toilet paper, they'll buy it in boxes or mga water stuff, merchandise.
Yung mga customers nyo, Jean, kamusta naman? Ano yung behavior nila ngayon? On edge ba sila? Mas demanding ba sila? Mas ano ba sila? Mas praning ba sila ngayon?
Yes, especially when we started this wearing a mask here in LA kasi nga hindi sanay, it was crazy the first day. It just started Saturday to be exact. So when we posted that in our store, so customers were not aware. A lot of customers were not aware. So medyo may mga violent reaction pa. I think on that day, I got yelled at almost 5 times by some customer. So basically telling me it's a fake country, that who am I to tell them to wear a mask, or things like that. So they don't see it as, in their point of view, they don't see it as for their own safety. Kaya naman na-implement yun, and then why it started in Asia also, it's because at this point, kulang in testing. We don't know who's the COVID positive, right? So everybody, if you know, 80% ng COVID-19 is asymptomatic daw eh. Sometimes you don't know you have it na pala, you can be spreading it. So that's why naman na-enforce yung mask. So andito naman, kasi wala kaming mask dito sa US talaga, we encourage them at least face cover. Funny nga mag-post yung isang friend ko, isang batch din from Davao, imagine CDC they were showing it on YouTube in the White House by our Surgeon General on how to make a face cover. Imagine that.
Nakita ko yun. Yung may goma.
Nakakala mo, West Pointer tapos making a face mask, di ba? So, that's how delayed talaga ang Amerika Unfortunately.
Meron pa tayong comment dito. Sabi naman I'm sure related kay Ginto, si Arlene Onchanco.
That's why she's a doctor also.
sabi niya, here in the US, even a doctor ordering a mask or supplies for the clinic, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks now. When it just was 3 days. But now, because of the increase in demand, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks before a doctor gets their supply of face mask or any supply that is related to the virus. And it also, sabi nga niya, it has to do with the increase of demand and maybe availability of supply. I think your supply for the most parts in the US is enough. The thing is, it's the demand and probably the distribution, the time that it needs to be delivered to another to one area. Kasi ngayon medyo what happens is that medyo nataranta, sabay-sabay umu-order papunta sa iba-ibang lugar. Unlike before, fixed na yung schedule na okay, we send this. Ngayon parang dami sa bulk. Siguro medyo may konting, yun na nga, medyo may konting tarantas as sa distribute. That's why it takes a little bit longer, no? Pero I think as far as the supply is concerned, America yan, di ba? I'm sure you probably would have enough. It's just that yung influx ng order, medyo natulala, nagugulat siguro yung mga tao.
Yeah, partly din also, it's most of the surgical masks are coming from China na, but as you know, administration currently is not in good terms with di ba? So, but what's happening is individual governors within other states, Governor Como or Governor Newsom here in California, we have people in China na, just trying to make sure we can avail masks or. So what's happening here in America? It's basically state to state ng pag-run ng during this pandemic time talaga. So like I said, ang California and our mayor, first week of January pa nag-call na ng stay-at-home order, which other states or cities after weeks after pa.
Jean, just quick lang. If you were to be asked, no, ano yung nakikita mong wish list mo na gusto mong mangyari in terms of how your job is better supported, no? And what I mean by this is kung meron kang gustong maayos right now, with reference to what's happening and at the same time, how it can make you in your role or the way you do your delivery of your role in retail better. Ano yung mga nakikita mong wish list? Ano yung mga gusto mong mangyari? And one example might be, would you wish for a more powerful ERP system that will help you, better manage your inventory and supply? Yung mga ganon, meron ka bang listahan na nakikita mo kahit na off the bat lang?
Yeah. The operational aspect, of course, the inventory, if we have better control, if I had my own warehouse lang kung pwede. Pero what's happening, our warehouse is about I think 50 miles away from our store. So medyo malayo na. I only get lang one day a week delivery. So ang process kasi, to give you an idea of how we process our inventory, George, is like last night, Monday night, we got our delivery. That was last night, right? That's why I was telling Econ I had to work early morning, 1 to 10, because I was in charge of the truck delivery. So at that time, I had my load crew, 5 to 6 people with me, and we process that load. Once we're done with that load, it usually takes about 24 hours to 48 hours. Then we have this what we call RF unit. With this RF unit, basically that's how we control our inventory. And we go around the store. I go around the stores, each aisle, each category, and then we call it cycle count, or we call it zero. So basically, any item that has a hole, we call that zero. So we zero that out. So hoping that in the next replenishment, which is the next coming Monday again, we'll receive those items. The frustration in that operational aspect for us managers is there's no guarantee that we're gonna receive those items. Like for example, I've been pushing for hand gloves, or I've been pushing for thermometer. Last 3 weeks, it's not coming in talaga. So there's a breakdown talaga of supply chain, and partly I cannot. It's just not us. It's the whole retail sector is having a a breakdown of the of our supply chain talaga. Kasi ang nangyari nga, in those panic buying times, those 3 weeks, I'm sure there's a household right now who has 10 thermometers. There is a household right now who has
Wow.
20 to 200 toilet paper. So ganun na nangyari eh. So I was reading an article nga, there are certain items or certain categories in a grocery or in a pharmacy na hindi maggalaw kasi ang dami daw tao meron nun eh. Alam mo yun? I mean, if I remember, there was a lady buying Tylenol for 10 Tylenol. Alam mo yun, for there's 100 tablets there. And that's 1,000 tablets of Tylenol. Magkano ka ba kadalas magkakasip, right? So,
Grabe.
so that panic buying talaga caused the disruption or supply chain. That was the biggest problem.
Yes,
But
may
that's the
comment
operational
na.
aspect.
May comment
I
tayo.
think it's best we need.
Sabi ni Arlene, priorities right now are hospitals and nursing homes, so other orders are pushed back. So yun nga naman daw yung
Correct.
mga priorities.
Tama yan. That's why we're having a hard time with the surgical mask and the N95, especially the N95 kasi hospital grade yan eh. So they're really the hospitals, and like my sister, she's a director of a home health care, or forget the name, she will get mad at me. But she's the director of that. So mga N95 meron silang direct supply nun. But George, I think going back to your question, I think it's best to focus really on the employees eh. So if you ask me for the wish list, if you ask me about the wish list, I mean, like Econ is a customer service guy, right? I mean, customer service is not about delivering service or selling your products. Eh. It's about your employees. Without your employees, there's nobody who can help your customers who sell your products. So
Yeah.
so it's about caring.
Yes, sabi nga ni billionaire Richard Branson, di ba? The number one asset of your company is not your customers, it's your employee. That's your number one
Right.
asset. You take care of your employee, they will take care of your clients or your customers.
Right. And then, like I said, if we can provide, we have masks naman and gloves and everything, but if we can just be consistent on that one, that will be real. It's about caring for your associates talaga, that they feel safe going to work. Mind you, the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, wala pa akong call out, so which is really a good sign na alam mo, gangho yung team.
Salamat naman.
Kasi, I mean, although the company was good enough that we have our own pandemic plan, if you do call out, if it's even, you're not sure if it's COVID related, it will be covered, and then not using your sick days. We have what we call a pandemic sick pay, which is also good, and we were given a hazardous pay. So it's one thing good about in a corporate America company, in a corporate company, kasi medyo alaga ka talaga.
Oo nga. Batiin ko lang muna pala yung mga naka-online, George, bago ka mag-ask ng last few questions natin. We'd like to say hi. This is from Jean's clan. So si Neil Clark Onchanco is watching. Si Arlene Onchanco is also watching. And then pamangkin ata ni Jean, Annie Onchanco, hi Tito Tito, watching.
Buong clan ko yata yan.
Mga fan club ni Jean to. Tapos, I'm sure kilala ni George, si Jo Marie Mercado joined us. He was watching a few minutes ago. And then a lot of our kababayan, Jean, si Scarlett, nakikinig, Dalisay, si Doc Benedict, and I'm inviting Doc Benedict na para next week. Si Tommy Pamintuan is also tuned in. Marami pa tayong kaklase dito dati, Jean. Si Allen was watching.
Allen De Vera, yeah.
Allen De Vera was also watching. VP for Lyceum, Dr. Felipe Baringit. He's based in Davao now, sa Lyceum. Ano yung sinasabing madalas na kamukha ko daw? Kamukha daw kami. Si Enrique Ocampo is also watching us. And some people from the training industry. Dean Kino Pia was watching. as well. So yun yung mga nanood sa atin at mga nagtanong. Final few
Si
questions kasi alam ko papasok pa to si G. George.
Actually, I'm good with my question. Siguro ako, parang ano ko lang, magpapasalamat din ako sa iyo, Jean, because as it is, you're a frontliner. You're a frontliner, pare. You keep
Yes.
you keep the whole machine running, no? Kumbaga,
Yes.
well, while everyone is safe in their homes, I'm sure you also come to work and you have to make sure all these things still get mobilized, no? So malaking pasasalamat din namin sa iyo, no, because you're there, you're still battling it out there. So and tama ka, no, again, employees are number one kasi kung wala tayong empleyado, wala tayong negosyo, di ba? So again, it's very important to always stress the safety aspect of the work, yung occupational safety, yung mga hazards, to take a look at it, make sure, especially right now, no, yun siguro yung mako-contribute natin with reference to our employees. And thank you, Chief, na nandyan ka din, no, enlightening us, and also at the same time, making sure that this whole thing is seen through. Kasi kung wala kayo, I mean, even if you're not here in the Philippines, wherever it is, no, I'm sure may mga Pilipino rin na customers mo dyan. Kung wala ka dyan, mahirap, di ba? Paano gagalaw ang mundo, no? So, yun, maraming salamat sa ginagawa mo din for all of us, no?
Yeah.
Ako din, Gene, I feel the same way because the frontliners, people always think that the frontliners, yung mga natao na sa hospitals, doctors, nurses, but it also includes the frontliners as far as consumer products are concerned. Yung medicine, yung groceries, yung convenience store. I mean, we would all be hungry if there's no one manning the counter sa mga convenience stores na to, di ba? Sometimes at the last minute, you think of something that you really need, and you guys are there. And again, hats off to you, kababayan, and I hope you guys stay safe there. And additional shout-outs lang, CEO ng Mama Luz is also watching us, si David Season. Owner ng Bob Marlin in Naga is also watching us, Victor Panga. These are the people who are joining and listening to our discussion. Very importantly, sila Bambi, mga classmates natin dito ay. I hope you guys also feel the same way as like George and myself. We salute Gene for being a frontliner. Always stay safe. Always make sure that you're protected, di ba? Kasi kailangan namin kayo dahil kung wala kayo, paano naman kami, di ba? So,
even the meat factory, please, we should to mention that. I don't know if you read the article today. We're having problems with their own meat factory. In fact, magkaroon daw kami ng meat supply problem in the next few weeks kasi meat plants are shutting down here in America. So major meat factories. So yun, mga essential workers din yun.
Tapos nga pala, hindi ko na banggit kay Gene before we wrap up. Si George, as of mga 2 weeks ago, muntik na tong tamaan. Alam mo ba, naging PUI ito. Buti na lang at malakas pa. Bata pa to kasi lumakas ang katawan. Lumaban ito at hindi siya natuloy. Tama, George, di ba?
Oh, actually, hindi naman PUI. PUM lang. One of the people that I've been in contact with, yung asawa niya, nag-positive sa COVID. Although gumaling na, tapos siya naman, tinest din, nag-negative naman yung buong family niya. But I was in self-quarantine for 14 days as well. Kaya very ako eh. Oo, very ako dyan. I usually post in my my private wall sa mga friends ko. Very advocate ako talaga how we can help flatten the curve, no? So, kasi nga, syempre, mahirap din magkaroon ng ganong experience. No? And yun, that's why
May bumabati sa iyo, George. Hello Tito George Ramos, Sherwin Evangelista.
yan, HR director yan ng isang what do you call this, digital marketing outfit. Okay yan, okay. Hi, Sherwin.
Dito na classic titos and titas tayo dito.
Wala nang gupit pare. Saka wala nang ahit
I like to mention also before we end up, to all the viewers also, I guess to assure everyone na kahit tayo siguro na this is not the end of the world scenario naman.
Hindi
It
naman,
will be
hindi
a
naman.
time swings. This is not the first pandemic we've experienced in the last 100 years. I mean, we had 1980, 1958. Yeah, it took a few years to change, pero the world will not be the same, or what we're used to, like what we call it, the normal, the new normal will be different. Pero as humans naman, we adjust. So
Yeah.
hopefully, a few years will be okay. And I think from what I'm reading, siguro 1 year and a half may vaccine na daw. So, but one thing I want to share also, even if
Go
we
ahead.
stop this, if we open our economies, which is the governors already starting to talk about it. The second wave, I hope a lot of people are still into the social distancing, wearing masks. From what our governor is saying, that will be part of the normal, the wearing masks. Because in the past pandemics talaga daw, the second wave was much worse than the first wave. So,
Nako. So talagang dapat
that's one thing. Kasi mangyayari ngayon, magsa-celebrate mga tao eh. Once sabihin
Ay,
nila
naku, sinabi
April
mo,
30 is
sinabi
over,
mo.
that's a scary part eh. Kasi wala pang cure eh. Wala pang vaccine, I mean.
That's right. Ako naman, one of the good things that I see having this virus that is currently happening now is that I think the world will be a better place. It may sound like a beauty pageant answer or a comment, but I think the world will be a better place. Diba? I believe in world peace, but I think people are going to be nicer to each other. People are going to respect the space between each other. People are going to be more clean as compared to before. Palagay ko, I think what this virus really is doing is that we will come out a better globe, a better, not just country, but the whole globe or the whole world will be a better place after we fight this virus. But again, we have to fight it together. Diba? Yun lang naman yung importante.
Yes.
George, your last few words?
Ako, tama ka, Eko, no? And thank you so much, Gene, again, for being our guest today. Ang dami namin natutunan, sir. Ang dami namin nakuha sa'yo. And coming off from what Ekon says, this is going to really be different, no? I think employers will also be more considerate, no?
Yes.
More compassionate. We will be more working collaboratively, pero more conscious about not going so much into contact so that ma-avoid nga natin yan. And siguro tama ka eh. Sabi mo nga kanina eh, magse-celebrate tayo pero it's too early. Kailangan magtiis muna tayo. Let's give in to the demands of the virus so that at least we can come out of it safe and sound. And I guess there's hope with what you said. It's been done before. Sumunod lang tayo. Yun yung hope ko dyan. Kaya nga ako, control freak ako ngayon kasi kailangan lang sundin yan. Sundin lang natin yung rules. Kasi nagawa naman before eh. No? Pagkatapos niyan, okay na tayo. Babalik na uli yung saya. Tiis lang. And thank you for reminding everyone, na ganun talaga yung mangyayari.
There's one thing quote before we end from our head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. His name is Dr. Fauci. I'm sure you've seen him in
Dr.
our
Fauci.
He's the face of our COVID-19, right? So what he said his quote became very popular is, we don't make the timeline. We don't make the timeline ourselves. The virus makes the timeline. Yeah. So talaga to, it's not gonna be political eh. It's not gonna be our administration, not even the governors. It's scientific driven. So one thing good about the governors, they're really basing their decisions on what the scientists or the experts are telling them. So I think that's what we should focus on before we actually worry about the economy. I mean, yeah, of course, the impact on our economy will be very bad. But I think we will adjust eventually.
Right. One last thing on a more serious note, George. I'm sorry to hear about the husband of your sister. Am I right?
Yeah. So yun lang. I got word just last night na yung brother-in-law ko passed away because of COVID-19 sa New York. No? So my prayers are with the family and also syempre yung kapatid ko. And and everyone else who's there. No? So, yun nga, kaya nga very passionate din ako in trying to make sure that everyone stays safe and everyone practices what it demands of us. So, yun lang guys. And I hope, after this, mag-celebrate tayo. We can have another call siguro after all of this and we can just narrate it to our kids and our grandchildren kung ano nangyari. Yung gera na hinarap natin. No, this is actually war.
This is our
war.
Dr. Benedict said this, sabi na sa amin, this is our, if our parents had World War II, this is our moment talaga. This is our World War III daw.
Ito yun.
Kamala, si Doc Benedict is one of our classmates in Ateneo as well, and I'm trying to get him for next conversation with a practicing medical doctor. Para frontliner, so we have a frontliner here now. Hopefully we can get him on board. If I cannot get Doc Benedict, there are so many doctors in our batch, so I will also ask them. Doctor na yung kausap natin. Hindi lang yung what is actually happening, yung insights nila on what this war that we're going through right now. All right, thank you guys. Good evening. Sorry, good afternoon. Tama ba? Hindi pala, tama. Papasok
Good morning. Good morning.
Madaling
Actually,
yes.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Good luck, sir. Stay safe, huh? Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you to our guests.
Right.
Thank you, George. I'll see you again.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you.
Everyone.
Stay safe.
Okay, bye. George.